Draymond Green recently has, he's got his own podcast. He's in the media. One thing that's really been the biggest news over the last few days is Draymond is seeking a max contract for 4 years, well over $100 million. Currently, he's making around $25 a year. The upcoming contract to be over 32, around 33. Probably be backloaded, so he's getting more and more in the back end of that deal. And the Warriors don't want to give it to him. They're saying we got this young core that we're going to develop and continue to grow, but we're taking this year by year with a player like you because you're older. You're 32 years old. Even if you just want a championship, we're not trying to oversell because the way they built this dynasty was off of terrific contracts. Steph was underpaid. Draymond was underpaid. That's how they got Kevin Durant when the cap spiked. And so for Joe Lacob, they print money with their arena. It's their own arena. It's their own local ATM. He's saying to himself, I'm not willing to give you this contract, but we're going to take this on a year-by-year approach. My question to you guys is, to me, I have a very definitive answer. Justin, is Draymond Green, who's already, let me check. I just want to make sure he's 32 years old, worth the max contract for over 4 years he seeks?
Man, that's a tough one. So I've thought about it because the second you think about a max player in the offensive league, you're thinking of somebody that's giving you 20, 25 points a night, somebody that can carry the freight on the offensive side. But I guess Draymond might be the outlier here. Call me crazy, and I know I'm pretty sure I know what Brandon's take is here, hearing his Klay Thompson and Draymond debates. But Draymond, yeah, like I said, he's the outlier. His impact to the Warriors' success is immeasurable. This is a dynasty, and without him, they're not one. So he'll give you guys a defensive masterclass. He's an anchor on the team, and I think he deserves to be paid like one. Sure, he's done everything that he can. He's done everything asked of him. He's taken pay cuts for Kevin Durant. The guy's a warrior through and through, and yeah, I have no doubt that I think the Warriors will end up eventually giving him the max. That's not somebody you want to let walk. Warriors aren't the same team without him. We've seen that already. So I could see him, if not this summer, maybe the next.
Do you know what the Warriors' record was this last season, the 36 regular season games he missed?
What?
19 and 17. And the crazy thing for me, is Draymond Green worth a max contract? Absolutely, and it's not even a discussion. When looking at what he brings to the Warriors on the court, just there, they got to the greatest defensive start of any team in NBA history this last season in defensive rating. And when you looked at the Defensive Player of the Year race, Draymond was not just the favorite, but he was the runner-up by a mile. It was only because of a calf injury that sidelined him for 36 games that he didn't win the award. Even while playing, it was barely under 50, 46. He still made the all-defensive second team. Think about that. He missed almost half the season, and he was still on the all-defense team. In the postseason, he was, as a leader, an aggressor, a veteran with the savvy, absolutely, like you said, immeasurable. But I don't think people realize how valuable Draymond is on the offensive end, because despite contrary belief, Draymond is a linchpin in the Warriors' offense. To the naked eye, he's not a scorer and he's not a shooter, so therefore he's not skilled. But what fans don't always comprehend is when we look at a big man that can handle, pass to the very best players in the NBA, is savvy, has all the veteran tricks and pick and roll, handling the ball in the open court, he can play point guard, and that allows Steph Curry to be the off-ball force that he is because he doesn't have to take the ball up the court. Defenses, they can't necessarily always double team him because you're not going to double team Draymond. If you do, you're leaving one of Steph, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, or Andrew Wiggins open. That won't really go too well against the Warriors offense when you have one of the greatest playmakers in the front court who's taking the ball up the court. And when you look at a big that can handle, he can run a pick and roll himself. He is one of the greatest passers of all time, rolling to the rim. That amplifies not just Steph Curry's ability, but the legs of Klay Thompson, Kevin Looney. All those players are better, not just because of Steph Curry, but the ways that Draymond can elevate his teammates on the offensive ends, because his skill set is unique, and it's also incredibly valuable to any team. And on this Golden State squad, I think it is invaluable. And without it, their title window is not only absolutely shut, but if you're trying to develop these young guys and you want to instill this toughness that he brings, without him, you're losing all of that, and the integrity of this core will be broken.
I'd say my only worry before you go, Brandon, is just the age. That's real long term that you start to question it, but He's what, 32 at the moment, about to turn 33. So the contract ends when he's 36, 37. That's a long time. He's going to be an old soul by that time. So
Don't you
that's
think
the
his game?
only. Well,
Don't you think his game would age better than most?
that's definitely possible. I mean, as long as he's healthy. That's why I don't feel like I don't know. That's the only thing that's skeptical to me. It's just his age. But like I told you, I do think he's a max player in the Warriors system, at least.
Uh, just to jump up, John, do you have how much he would be getting paid yearly for that max contract?
I'll pull it up in a brief moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe it was 4 years, 130.
33. I want to make sure it's 4 years, 133, which would be
Okay. Yeah. So before you get that, I mean, I I agree. And when we talked about this before, I said Draymond's invaluable to this Warriors team. I give them all. It's similar to when people have the debate Brady or Belichick. I say yes, both would be successful on their own, but together they created this dynasty, and that's what I'm talking about. So with this Warriors, Steph would be great in his own. Clay would be great on another team. Draymond would be able to fit in with other teams, but together they mix so well, and that's what creates this dynasty for them. Uh, so I mean, yeah, we're an offensive league, and you look at his numbers, and you say, the shooting has definitely fallen off. Nobody can debate that. The numbers don't lie there. The numbers have just fallen off a lot. But he still gives you high rebounds. He still gives you high assists. He's a menace. Would say he's a disturber. He likes to get in players' heads. He likes to cause trouble there. And he did make some big shots. I think in either one or two games in the finals. Right, he was hitting those big shots. So I mean, they're gonna give it. I believe they're gonna give it to him. Yes, yes. If we really got to the nitty gritty, and you asked me, do I think he deserves Do you have the numbers, Sean, in front of you?
this is going to blow you away.
Okay.
So the Warriors' tax bill this last season was the biggest in NBA history. It's no surprise. Thompson, he's going to be making $43 million in a few years. You got Wiggins on a max, Draymond on a max, Steph on a max. Listen to this. So let's say you give Andrew Wiggins his extension. That would start at $33 million. You then give Jordan Poole his rookie extension and Draymond Green a max extension, which would start at $30.9 million. Their tax bill for the 2024 season, it's not this coming year, but the next one, 2023-24, would be over $500 million. $500 million for one season. And Joe Lacob, their owner, has talked about, look, we're going to spend a lot of money on the tax because we literally print money with our own arena that we own. But that number is so large. The Warriors are so deep in the repeater tax. The way it works in the NBA is that roster, the total payroll will be $222 million. The tax line is $161. So they're $61 million over the tax line. They're so far deep into the luxury that basically, once I think I forget the exact number, you're going to be taxed more and more for every dollar that you spend. I had this in my notes somewhere. And so they're being taxed so much for every dollar they spend. And for every year they stay in the luxury tax, that number is so astronomical. No franchise would even think about paying that. For Joe Lacob, people look at it and say, oh, dude, come on, just pay it. But I mean, this is a guy who's investing so much into a player in Draymond, who he's saying is not necessarily worth all of this money and this big of an investment because we've already got 4 titles. And realistically, in 3 years, their title window will be closed shut. The perspective I come from is, as a mentor, as a veteran presence, Draymond has the intelligence, the toughness, and the savvy that his game can age moderately well, and he can still be one of the best defenders and one of the most important offensive players. When Steph, though, starts to regress, I don't know when, because his work ethic is unmatched and he's a one of one type player. That is when I really feel Draymond's impact will be less severe. Because, like you said, Brandon, he is most valuable in this place. And if I'm the Phoenix Suns, I'm not paying Draymond a max. But in the Warriors system, this is the one place where he truly is a top 30 player because of
Mhm.
his ceiling raising ability. I think the floor with him is low if he's, one of your two best players and you put him in Sacramento. You put him over here in the Bay, though, it's a completely different story. That number, though, blew me away. $564 million for 1 year in the tax.
So yeah, like I was saying, so he would start out at 30 million.
Yes. And it go up to, I guess it's like 37 over 4
37.
years.
Yeah. So I mean, this goes to a whole different point with me where I think there's no, and again, I don't want to say Draymond's a mid-level player, but I do think there should be tiers for contracts. Like I don't, I think it's a little skewed right now. I do think, listen, everybody else, there's one thing that I do disagree with where it's everybody says professional athletes aren't paid enough that they deserve more. I come from a different token on that because I just look at it and I say, um, it, listen, man, this is professional sports. Yes, it's insanely tough and it's hard, but this isn't this isn't open heart surgery. Okay, this isn't you're not a doctor under the scope and you got to save somebody's life. All right, it, you guys make astronomical amount of money. Okay, you got when you enter the NBA and you become a good to great player, you have become a a part of the one percenters, if we're going to be honest. You're making millions upon millions of dollars, not just on contracts, but in sponsorships. So that goes into a whole different point with me that we can get into another day if you guys want.